Praise be Jesus and Mary.
Amen.
When St. Francis went through his conversion and began behaving so differently, everyone thought he was crazy. In time they would come to understand that he was not, but already in that early period the Lord revealed to him the future foundation of the Poor Clares. St. Clare told the nuns about it in her testament. She wrote, almost immediately after his conversion, when the holy man did not as yet have brothers or companions, while building the church of St. Damien, he made a prophecy about us that the Lord later fulfilled. Climbing the wall around that church, he shouted in French to some poor people who were standing nearby, "Come and help me in the work of on the Monastery of San Damiano, because there will as yet be ladies here who will glorify our Heavenly Father throughout His holy universal church by their celebrated and holy manner of life." Finally, one man understood that Francis was holy rather than crazy, and he became the saint's first companion. Then others came to understand, and some became his companions. The teenage noblewoman Clare was intrigued. In the company of another woman, she met with him several times to understand his spirituality and get counsels for her spiritual life. St. Francis also knew her by her reputation for piety and charity, and encouraged her to go consecrate herself to God and live in poverty. Desiring to reject entirely the world with everything earthly, and to serve the Lord alone in voluntary poverty, she changed all her goods into alms and distributed them as resources for the poor. Then on the night of Palm Sunday in 1212, she left home and went with a companion to the Portiuncula. They went out through a door that was only used to bring out the dead, for she was now dead to the world. From then on, her life would be hidden with Christ in God. Because this door was rarely used, there were a lot of things piled in front of it, some of which should have been too heavy for her to move, but she managed to clear them away. This prodigy showed that the Lord would help her overcome the obstacles to her new form of life. She could have married a nobleman, but she preferred a mystical espousal to the King of Kings. Her dowry was holy poverty. On the plain below Assisi, St. Francis and his companions were waiting for her with lighted torches at the Portiuncula. He consecrated her to God, cutting her hair, and then took her to a Benedictine monastery, because there was no monastery for Franciscan nuns yet. She was the first one. When St. Clare's family members realized that she was missing, they went looking for her, and when they found her in the monastery, they wanted to take her back by force. Then the 18-year-old virgin uncovered her head to show the cropped hair that was a sign of her consecration to God. Her relatives understood that she was now under the protection of the church. There was nothing more they could do. In the Benedictine monastery, she was trained in the religious life and joined by her sister Agnes. Then they moved to San Damiano, thus beginning to fulfill the prophecy of St. Francis. In the new monastery they were joined by their mother, by other relatives, and soon the nuns came to number 16, including 3 daughters of the Ubaldini family of Florence. By 1238 there would be 49 nuns under St. Clare. They distinguished themselves by their intense life of poverty and penance, the great value of which they had learned from St. Francis. He had appointed St. Clare the abbess. She didn't want the authority, but it did allow her to choose the humblest tasks for herself. As our seraphic father had prophesied, the reputation for holiness of the poor ladies of San Damiano spread. Other cities requested monasteries, and many obtained them. One of those opened was in Prague, where Agnes, daughter of the King of Bohemia, took the habit. St. Clare fell ill, and to keep from being idle, she had herself propped up and made corporals for the churches in and around Assisi. St. Francis had taught her a great love for the Eucharist, and she wanted in this way to provide for the decorum of the celebrations. For many poor churches did not have everything necessary for a fitting celebration. If there was no corporal, they would just lay the host on the altar, or on the altar cloth, which was not really fitting, since it should be taken away because there could be fragments of the host in it. So for this reason, they used a corporal. Her faith in the real presence of the Eucharist was so great that a prodigious event occurred on 2 occasions. Just by holding up the Blessed Sacrament, she drove away the Saracen mercenary soldiers who were on the verge of attacking the monastery of San Damiano and devastating the city of Assisi. This is why she is often depicted with the Eucharist in her hand. This is what happened on the first occasion, in September 1230. Emperor Frederick II was at war against the Pope, and he laid waste the valley of Spoleto because it was part of the Papal States. Frederick had Saracen mercenaries in his service. At one point they rushed upon San Damiano, entered the confines of the place and even the enclosure of the Virgins. The nuns ran to inform St Clare, who, with an undaunted heart, ordered that she be brought, sick as she was, to the door, and placed there before the enemy, while the silver pyx enclosed in ivory, in which the body of the Holy of Holies was most devotedly reserved, preceded her. Prostrate in prayer, she asked the Lord to protect his servants. Suddenly a voice from the mercy seat of New Grace, as of a little child, resounded in her ears. "I will always defend you." She also asked for and obtained a promise of protection for the city. St. Clare told her sisters they would not be harmed, and at once the boldness of the soldiers was subdued. Seized with fright, they fled back over the walls they had scaled to enter. Those who hope in the Lord shall not be put to shame. She had learned to trust in the Lord by practicing Franciscan poverty, so that not even the monastery owned anything. This was what St. Francis had taught her, but churchmen, even popes, did try to discourage her. Friars can go out to beg, but nuns who don't have that possibility to leave the cloister will starve if no one brings them food. But she insisted that her vocation and that of her sisters was to imitate Jesus and Mary in highest poverty. God would make it possible for them to live according to their call. And sometimes he proved it with miracles, like the day when there was only half a loaf of bread, but at St. Clare's orders 50 large slices were cut from it, so that each nun could have enough to eat. In 1228, Pope Gregory IX granted the monastery of San Damiano the privilege of poverty, so that no one could oblige him to accept property. This privilege was later extended to some other monasteries of the Poor Clares, while yet others thought it more prudent not to have this privilege. There was also another point, the rule. It was not to be some adaptation of the rule of St. Benedict like other nuns had. The novelty of her form of life called for a new rule to express it. It took her whole life to convince a pope to accept this. 2 days before she died, Pope Innocent IV confirmed the rule written by St. Clare, and this makes her the first woman to write a rule for a religious order. A few days before she died, a nun saw a procession of virgins enter the room where St. Clare was lying sick. The most glorious of them, the Blessed Virgin, bent down over St. Clare, and the nun was unable to distinguish their faces. This vision shows that St. Clare had been perfectly conformed to Our Lady. For this reason, a hymn composed by Innocent IV calls her the trace or vestige of the Mother of God. Imitation of Mary's charity, poverty, humility, and other virtues had made her a perfect likeness of the Blessed Virgin. Praised be Jesus and Mary.
Amen.